What's going on? Welcome to the Awakened Soul. And on this week's episode of the Awakened Soul, we're going to be discussing how to use your haters as fuel to your own success. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So this week, we're hopping to my dark and twisted crazy ass mind. And what I have to say here during the End of Mind and Haize segment is actually going to also pay off during the discussion topic. So it's kind of a two-parter. They play off each other very well this week. The first thing that I kind of want to address is, so last week was the debut of our new sponsorship with Disney Plus. And so because of that, I remember I announced it like a week or two before it actually happened. And of course, that brought its own set of naysayers and people who just kind of they were either doubtful or they responded in hate. And so that is going to play off, like I said, when we get into the discussion topic. But sometimes you have to realize, and this is the thing that I realized while this was happening, is that the same people who were hating on the Disney Plus deal when it was announced, talking about announcements, is it actually going to happen, and questioning it, once it did become official, those same people were gone. They were nowhere to be found. You couldn't see them. They didn't comment on it. They didn't even walk back their comments. And when that stuff happens, when stuff like that happens, that's when you need to realize that people will use you or use the things that you are successful in or that you accomplish. And because they can't accomplish it, of course, the first thing that they'll go to is, oh, it's not true. Or they'll try to bring you down to them. Their own doubt and their own insecurity will cause them to hate on you. And they may not even realize they're doing it. It may not even be one of those things that is intentional. It's because in their mind, they're thinking, oh, well, I couldn't do it. How is this motherfucker doing it? And that's what you want people to think. You want people to be able to, when they think about stuff that you do, or when they look at stuff you do, make it wonder, well, if how can they do it if I'm not doing it? Be inspired. And this is the thing, is this: people will sit back and they'll hate on stuff so much or mention things so much, and it takes away from them being able to accomplish it. You're sitting there watching other people's moves so much that you're not making your own moves. And because of that, because of your lack of being able to make moves for years of you being in this game, then you sit around and you'll try to take down the people around you who are accomplishing more than you. It's not anything. There's no huge secret to this. There is a level of, you do have to have a level of expertise. You do have to have a level of business acumen. You do have to have a level of just being out there to go and get it. And everyone has that. I think almost everyone can achieve that if they work towards it. But you have these people who they will work harder to try to bring you down than to work harder on improving their own craft and their own things. And it's been something that and it's kind of twofold, right? Because you have the people who have achieved more, who then kind of talk down to the people below them. For example, there's the people who marvel at the fact that they passed 300, 600 plays or whatever. If I could easily say, well, if that's something I was going to do, I would celebrate that 3 times every episode, because we do those numbers easily. But you don't talk down to people below you, but at the same time, you can't throw stones at the people ahead of you. Try to learn from them. And some people are so caught up in their hate and in their insecurity and in their self-doubt that they will flat out hate more than what they put into work of their own craft. And those type of people you have to just ignore, right? Because it's not worth it. If you're sitting there and you can't even backtrack on your own statements or admit, hey, I was wrong, then why do I care when you're making whatever statements that you make? And that's the thing that people do. They will clearly and quickly talk about things that they doubt. But when those things come to pass, or you proving it or whatever else, those same people are quiet as fuck. And guess what? Those are the people who aren't worth your time. You need to stop, and this is what we'll talk about in our discussion topic. We actually, in the discussion topic today, is 10 ways on how to use haters to fuel your own success. So I already gave you a little hint there of what's going to happen in the discussion topic this week. But it's just something that was definitely on my mind, because you sit back, and I've always been someone in this game who who freely gives away knowledge and resources. I always have the saying when I talk to new podcasters, even podcasters that have been around that I help. I really, truly, honestly feel that knowledge is best when it's shared. We work in a space where people will hold back information because they feel like it will keep them from, or other people from, achieving over them by holding back information. It's like, no, I want everybody to win. If I've learned something, or if I've jumped over an obstacle, I want to sit there and tell the next person how to avoid that same obstacle when it comes up, because that's how we push the culture forward. That's how we push this podcasting game forward. And people get so caught up in hate. And I see it all. I see everything. But it's something that I've realized towards the end of 2019, kind of in the middle there, is that everything isn't worth my time and energy, right? Because while you're sitting there hating, and I have this saying, I say it all the time, we naturally are conditioned to welcome love, right? We welcome the love, we welcome the appreciation, we welcome the adoration and all that stuff. But hate, we forget that you can use hate to fuel you also. But you don't have to return. You return love. You return the love that people give to you. You return the adoration that people give to you. At least you should. If you're a good person, you will return that back to that person and help fill them back in, because they're sitting there filling you. But for people who hate, you don't just leave them sit there empty and hateful. But you can use that energy to keep it pushing for yourself in the full things you're doing. You're usually doing something. I'm going too far. I'm going too far into my message and my discussion topic. So I'll hold it back there. But overall, during this In the Mind of Haize segment, I just want to say this. For all of those that thought the Disney Plus thing wasn't going to happen, or I wasn't going to be able to achieve it, or I wasn't going to be able to pull it through, and they voiced that opinion very loudly, even if they didn't necessarily mention me exactly, and now that it happens and you're quiet on it, thank you. I thank you for that, because you just proved me right. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to get into the Cookie Chronicles. And then after that, you probably hear a message from another Breaks Media podcast, and we're going to get into the discussion topic for today. All right. So we're getting to the discussion topic for this week's episode of The Awakened Soul. And this is one that I think is going to be obvious. So I'm not acting like I'm breaking any new ground here. But I think going into 2020, we're still in the first month of it, is that it's something that I see that people around me, and I hope that they get a lot from this. And, shout out to Dan on Drugs, who just had an episode built around insecurity. And his openness on talking about his insecurities there was powerful. And again, the work that we're doing at the Breaks Media has just been amazing. So definitely check out A Few Loose Screws. Also check out Dan's other podcast, Black Law and Legal Lies. But let's get into the discussion topic this week. So I said it during the In the Mind of Haize segment. What we have this week is actually 10 ways to use your haters' energy to fuel your own success. And this has been something that I've kind of said on my platforms before, but I've never really delved into it. So as you guys know, when I'm by myself, I like to develop these lists, and, the whole Pastor Haize thing that people have been saying, but nonetheless, we're going to get into it. So we already really kind of, we've already talked about the hate and everything, and how that's really more of an indication of that person's own insecurity and their doubt in themselves. We're going to talk about how to use that to fuel you. So this isn't about the other parties. We talked about that during In the Mind of Haize. This is solely about you. And so the first one that we're getting into, the first way that you can use haters to fuel your own success, is that this is the age old one. You hear this one all the time. Understand that means that you're doing something right. The emergence of haters is a signal that you've reached a certain level of success. No one really hates on someone who doesn't accomplish anything. You have some of those people who do. They just hate everyone and everything. But generally, if someone is focusing and pinpointing any amount of hate or energy on you, usually it means that you're doing something right, or you're doing something that they wish that they can do, but they haven't yet learned how to do it. So that's the first one. Like I said, that's age old. Your mom probably told you that in elementary school and high school and everything else. So that's just the first one, but it's the first one for a reason, because it usually is an indication that you're doing something right, or something that someone else wants to be able to do but can't. Second thing, this is the harder one. This is where it takes you to kind of come down and not stoop to their level. That's a negative connotation, but this one, it takes action from you. And that is that learn that their attitudes, learn learn from a hater's attitude and learn how to be more accepting of others. If you can learn to appreciate your haters, if you can learn that what they're going through or why, or take a look at the reason why they're hating and really try to evaluate that, you're learning to accept other people. You're learning to broaden your horizons. You're learning to really grow. And that's a good thing. There's nothing worse than someone who spends energy and time hating you and you learn from their hate or you accept their hate. Just think about that for a second. If someone is spending energy hating on you or throwing hate in your direction and you respond with either love, understanding, or even just kindness, imagine how empty that's going to leave that hater to feel, right? And like learning from it. Like when you respond with more negativity, you're not really learning from other people's hate or learning from their attitudes. You're really incorporating that into you, and you don't need to do that. And that plays into our next one. Number 3 is use their criticism as a way to evaluate yourself. So when someone's throwing some type of hate in your direction, if you take that and learn, all right, let's say, for example, someone is, I'll use me, for example. Everyone knows I can be slightly cocky. But when you learn that, if that's someone's criticism of me and I'm learning, okay, this is how I am kind of coming from, let me take a step down from the cockiness and let me try to root it in something else. You're learning from it. A lot of criticisms can be rooted in jealousy. This is true. But sometimes the jealousy is well-founded. And when you can realize that some of that is founded, whether it's something that you intentionally do or something that you unintentionally do, and you need to realize, all right, this was my intent, but my intent necessarily didn't go over the way that I wanted to. If you can learn that from a hater, then you're continuing to grow from it, and you're not doing anything but improving yourself. You're fueling that to fuel your own success. Number 4, be more humble. And something that goes back to like the thing that I've explained it before on the John Effect podcast. Like, while I am very cocky sometimes, it's because I know the work that I put in. But rather than talk about how good I am at something, I have learned to more so talk about the work that takes to go in it. Be more humble about yourself. That's one thing that you can learn about your success, is really humble yourself. You may be more accomplished than the people that are hating on you, as we said in number 1, but still learn that even if you are more accomplished than those people that are hating on you, you can still learn from it. You can still take lessons from them. There's a saying that, like, my dad said before, is that because he grew up in Chicago, and I remember one time we were walking, and there was like, I don't want to say he was a cracker, but there was a homeless person on the side of the street, and he was talking to us as we were like waiting on the bus or trying to go to the shed. I can't remember exactly what it was. And he was talking to us, and when we walked away, I was like, Dad, why'd you have a whole conversation with that guy? He's homeless. Like, what? And my dad looked at me and he said, son, even though he's homeless, me listening to what he had to say could help me not be where he is. Me listening to his story could help me go get over something that may come my way in the future. And so because of that, like, you have to humble yourself. You have to be willing to help people. You should be humble in your responses to people. Again, that goes back to me not saying how good you are at something, but highlighting the work that you put into it, highlight the methods that you use to get as good as what you did. And that's when you teach people. It's easy to sit there and say, I'm the best at audio and video editing in the world. Such and such, Jax is the best director in the world. It's easy to say that, but it's hard. But it's sometimes harder to be, let me not say it's harder, but it's easier for people to digest, and you're actually helping people when you don't talk about just how good you are. You talk about, yeah, man, I went on YouTube and watched this video to do this, or I did this by trial and error. You're then teaching someone or making sure that they know that, hey, you can achieve this too. Number 5, use the haters to learn how to deal with conflict. And this is the biggest one. It is easy to respond to hate with hate. It's easy to respond to tension with tension. You hear people and they talk about how they get an attitude with people because they get attitudes with them. That's one of the stupidest things that I've heard. Like, I don't believe in that. Personally, is to get an attitude just because you feel like someone's getting an attitude with you, because you're taking away your ability and your power of choice and to be the bigger person in that sense. So to go back to our number 5, it's use them to learn how to deal with conflict. A hater is really just an obstacle and a challenge when you look at it. So if you learn how to deal with those conflicts and those haters in a productive and constructive way, you're teaching yourself, and you're putting in processes on how you're going to start dealing with conflict. And if you're going to continue to be successful in what you're doing and gain more haters, you're going to have to learn how to deal with conflict. It's easy to deal with love. It's harder how to deal with conflict. So use your haters in the situations that you run into them in, and those conversations to learn how to deal with conflict. When you do that, you'll see how much easier it is to deal with other things around you. Learn how to handle conflict, and dealing with a hater is a perfect example and situation to learn how to deal with conflict amongst people, amongst your peers, and just in general. If you can learn to talk to your haters in a positive way, if you can learn to talk to the people that hate on you with respect, then other conflicts that pop up, you'll be better at dealing with. Number 6, this is a harder one. This is one that I had to learn over my life, is learn how to control your anger. I say all the time that I had an anger issue from 19 until 29. I'm 33 now. And it was something, some of it was learned, but I can't place all that on the things and people that I learned it from. Some of it is just learning to calm down, take a breath, and being okay with stepping back from something. I think for me personally, the biggest thing in me learning to deal with my anger was learning that, all right, it's okay. If I can't do it right now, it's okay. Let me step back. Let me go do something else, and let me come back to it with a clearer mind. When you deal with haters, and a way that you can use it to fuel your own success is learn how to deal with anger. You're going to get angry when people hate on you. Not saying every time or all the time, but it's going to happen. If you can learn how to deal with that and take the anger out of that when it comes, that's how you're using your haters to fuel your own success. You're leaving them angry, but yet you're taking no anger along with you. You're dealing with it in kindness. And if you're able to do that, that's definitely going to help you in the long run as well. Number 7, use your haters to learn how to ignore negative influences. I can't say enough. Like, we live in an all connected age, right? How often are you scrolling down your Twitter timeline, Facebook, and it's easier to gravitate towards hate or to see the negative. Like, we are so surrounded by people who have these opinions, these negative opinions, and that's what they use their platforms for. But when you take people who are throwing hate, or just haters in general, who may not even be throwing at you, maybe they're throwing it at an artist you like. When you learn to take that and you ignore it, like you don't let it chink your armor at all, you're teaching and training your body and how to react to negativity. And I think that's important. There are always going to be negative people in your life. There are always going to be negative opinions in your life. When you learn to worry less about those, and you, like, everyone can't be like you. That's the thing that you need to realize, is that everyone isn't going to understand you. Everyone isn't going to be like you. And when they throw hate your way and they try to influence you to respond or react like them, sometimes people just want to see you swoop down to their level. When you feel less of an urge to get with those people, when you feel less of an urge to interact with those people, when you feel less of an urge to even give those people any time of your day, you're teaching yourself how to ignore the negativity. And that's an important part if you're going to be successful, because negativity, unfortunately, it does come with success. So we need to learn how to ignore that as well. Number 8, this is an important one, and this is one that I live by every day, is utilize your haters to become a more independent thinker. So and this is kind of one of those, you have to learn to walk the balance, right? Because you can have a thing, there's such thing as irrational confidence. But when you deal with your haters in a way that you don't let it affect your way of thinking, you're teaching yourself how to be an independent thinker. You're teaching yourself how to be okay with thinking different than other people. You're teaching yourself how to be okay with standing out amongst the people and just supporting your own. Everyone doesn't have to share the same beliefs as you. So don't take it as a personal insult. Don't take it as an insult of your character. Don't take it as an insult of the things you love. Not everyone is going to think and see the world the way that you do. When you learn to not be sidetracked by people seeing it differently than you, then you're able to start thinking more independently of others. You're able to start seeing your ideas through and not getting sidetracked by the thoughts and ideas that other people have about your thoughts and ideas, right? So it's easier to be a naysayer. It's easy to sit there when you get hate thrown your way for an idea you have, to sit there and second guess it and think, well, maybe I shouldn't be going about it this way. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I don't have what it takes to do X, Y, Z. No, When you're learning to deal and use haters for your success, you're becoming a more independent thinker. So you want to think independently. Be okay with being different. That's how you use your haters to fuel your success, because you're not going to let them throw you off your game. You're not going to let them throw you off your idea. Allow it to help build your independent thinking. Number 9, we're almost at the end. Allow your haters to motivate you. That's how you can use it for your own success. That goes back to what I said during the In the Mind Haize segment, is really when you get hate and stuff thrown your way and you know that it's because you're doing something great or you're on the right path, use it. You don't have to return hate energy, but you can still use it to fuel you. When someone throws hate your way, say, all right, I'm going to show you. I can show you better than I can tell you. That goes back to the Disney Plus thing and the announcement of that. I didn't respond. I didn't say anything to the people who were doubtful of it because I didn't need to, because I knew I was going to prove it to them. And now those people are quiet. That's motivation in me. Use the ability to shut your haters up as motivation. When you argue, when you go back and forth and argue with haters, neither one of you are winning. But when you let them talk, and you shut them up by just proving your success, proving how good you are, that's some of the biggest motivation. You'll want to keep chasing that high. The next time a naysayer pops up, you'll be like, all right, just watch me, watch what I do. That is the biggest way to motivate yourself, because that quietness, when you can hear that pin drop and they were so boisterous before, that is powerful. I will go on and say that that's probably one of the most powerful things that you can do and get to somebody with. So allow them to motivate you. And number 10 on how you can use your haters to fuel your success. This is the last one. This is the one that I wanted to leave you guys on, is appreciate your victories. Haters can be a great way to appreciate your victories. Accomplishing something that people told you that they didn't think you could do is a great feeling. That goes back to what we just talked about. Appreciate it. Just focus on the victory, not the hate. Like that, because you've just accomplished something, regardless of all the work that you've had to go into, whether it was seen or unseen, the work that you had that went into accomplishing that. Appreciate that victory, sit on that victory, celebrate that victory. That is how you can use haters to fuel your success, because you're celebrating your victory. They were celebrating the idea of you failing. Now you're just celebrating your victory. They didn't even have to be included in it when they see your celebration, because clearly they're watching you. They're watching you. That goes without saying. If it's somebody who's hating on you is clearly watching you, because what else would they be hating on? That just goes back to like something like with how many people are on social media and someone that doesn't even follow them comments on stuff that they have going on, because they are watching you. So when you already know that they are watching you, and then you appreciate and celebrate your victories, and you know that they were watching you, that's victory in of itself. That's it. Like I said, it was a fairly shorter episode this week on The Awakened Soul, but I really wanted to talk about these topics and talk about these things, because as we go into the new year, as we're trying to accomplish, I hope that everyone's trying to accomplish new things and new goals. I don't believe in resolutions, but I do believe in setting goals for yourself. And as we're achieving our goals for this new year, for just going forward, not just this year, but going forward from this point on, there's going to be haters that come. There's going to be naysayers. There's going to be doubters. And I wanted everyone to get this armor and to get prepared for how they're going to overcome and use these haters and doubters to fuel their own success. I'm your host, CEO Haize. You can follow me at CEO Haize. You can follow the podcast at Awaken Soul Pod. You can also send us any email, questions, comments, concerns to theawakensoulpod@gmail.com. Make sure you also go and check out The Film Frequency, which is my podcast I do with JB. We're hitting a bunch of content. We have mini-sodes, full review episodes, news episodes. Also on the YouTube, we're doing exclusive mini reviews there. It's a lot of content that's coming out from that podcast, which I'm really proud of. So make sure you're going and checking that out as well. But that's it. I got nothing left this week. I'm sick as hell. I'm glad that I was able to make it through this recording without coughing once. I'm sure this coughing spree is coming as soon as I start recording. So I thank you. I love each and every one of you guys. You don't know how much you fuel me to continue to be successful in this podcast. And I appreciate you guys. And, the last episode with Gail, it came very close to beating the most downloaded episode. Well, 9. So our most downloaded episode of this podcast was the Infinity War review, which did like 50,000 over the course of its lifetime. I don't even count that one because we're never going to achieve that again. Well, let me not say never, but that one's an anomaly. But the one with Gail came very close to being our most downloaded episode yet. And so that just tells me a few things. People are really spreading the word of this podcast, and I appreciate you guys. I love you guys so fucking much. You have no idea how much you've helped save my life and improve me as a person. And a lot of these things that I do for you guys with the video and everything is really just trying me to give back with the love that you guys have given me since I've started this podcast about 2.5 years ago. So enough of the sappy stuff. I already gave my social media. I love you guys. I'm out. Peace. Sorry, y'all. Be sure to check out the Awakened Soul podcast, a member of the Breaks Media.